Hello guys, there's less than a month left before 2022 ends, and looking back at this year, I've seen a lot of things K-pop stans do that I hope we won't have to deal with anymore in the new year. There are things we should really be leaving in 2022, but knowing how things work, I doubt it's gonna happen. Anyway, let's just get into the video and let's see the things that K-pop stans have to stop doing in 2023. Hating on Wonyoung. I hate that I have to talk about this, but hating on her seems to be the trend of the year. Like, what the hell has she ever done to you to be hating on her like this? She has been subjected to so much hatred and scrutiny ever since she was 14, and what's funny is that you always say how we should protect minors and how minors shouldn't debut in such a cruel industry, but it's people like you that make the industry even more cruel. At this point, Wonyoung can't even breathe without being attacked. She gets attacked if she's quiet because people say she's trying to be perfect. But if she's being cheerful, then she also gets hated because according to some of you she's acting like a pick-me. If she acts cute then she's cringy, but if she keeps a straight face then you would say she's being a bitch. She literally can't even cry because people will just say she's faking her tears, as if she didn't literally break down in tears when I've won Song of the Year at Mama. She was literally sobbing, but you still call that a fake cry. What pisses me off is how y'all criticize her for supposedly trying to be perfect on camera, but you don't realize that the more you attack someone, the less they are gonna wanna be themselves. If you pick her apart for everything, then you cannot expect her to be 100% herself. Wonyoung has a strong mentality, but some idols might really develop a serious trauma and anxiety if they received this much hate since the age of 14. Luckily, Wonyoung seems to be able to brush it off and focus on herself and people that love her instead of losers like you. But anyway, I genuinely hope every Wonyoung hater will burn in hell. Using the term doesn't. This term originated in the NCT fandom, and it was originally used to describe someone who doesn't sing, doesn't dance, and doesn't rap. This term then started spreading across all fandoms and now everybody uses it. The reason I particularly hate this term is because it's misleading. One example is people calling idols doesn't because they have no lines and they don't sing. But this is not necessarily the idol's fault. It's not that they don't sing because they are untalented. Sometimes it's just the company not letting them sing even if they have nice vocals. But people will still just call that idol a dozen, and other people will think that idol is some kind of filler member when maybe they're not. Some idols are dozens just because the company doesn't give them many chances of showcasing their talents, but they're not dozens because they suck. So I wish stans just stopped using this term. Using the term fell off. It is true that some groups sometimes fall off and lose popularity. It happens, but K-pop stans use the term fall off with every group, even with very big groups that are clearly still relevant and famous. But stans will just say they fell off simply because they personally didn't enjoy one comeback. Like, that's ridiculous. Just because you stop enjoying a group's music, it doesn't mean they fell off. I promise you that 95% of the groups you say fell off actually did not. They are still doing fine and you're just being so dramatic. Thinking multiple successful girl groups can't coexist. K-pop is a very competitive industry and it's normal for some groups to be considered each other's rivals. This clearly happens with boy groups too. But I've seen it much more with girl groups. Whenever a girl group makes it big, there are always so many people that act as if this new group is gonna end every other girl group. If a group achieves something, there are always people that say things like, "Oh my god, they ended Blackpink, they ended aespa," and I'm like, why can't you just praise them without dragging other girl groups? I don't see this happening as much with boy groups, and it makes me think that people cannot understand the fact that multiple girl groups can coexist. I promise you there can be more than one successful girl group at a time. Thinking successful groups can only come from the Big Four. Speaking of successful groups, obviously groups that come from the Big Four are usually more successful compared to the others. So people got used to seeing groups from JYP, SM, YG and HYBE being the most relevant. But sometimes there are groups that come from smaller companies that make it big. Some examples are 80s, one of the most popular 4th-gen groups internationally, The Boys, one of the current biggest boy groups domestically, even Monster X that are surely one of the most famous K-pop boy groups overall, and for girl groups we have Idol, Stacy and IVE, groups that are literally leading 4th-gen. But somehow people cannot seem to accept the fact that groups from middle-sized agencies can achieve so much. I know you would never question their success if they were from one of the Big Four, and I know you're scared of their achievements. Sorry to break it to you, but just because most of the successful groups come from the Big Four, it doesn't mean that groups from other agencies cannot make it big. Giving backhanded compliments when it comes to weight. We all want to defend idols when they get fat-shamed and we want to let them know they're beautiful no matter what. But some of you really give out backhanded compliments. For example, let's say an idol gains some weight. Some stans will say, "Oh my god, they look so cute after gaining weight. I love their chubby cheeks." Like, are you serious? Why do you need to comment on the fact they gained weight? Of course there's nothing wrong with gaining weight, but if you make it a big deal you might make that idol feel pressured to actually lose weight. K-pop is an industry that has very clear beauty standards and that expects idols to be thin and fit. So obviously idols feel pressured to fit this beauty standard, and if you go around commenting on the fact they gained weight, even if you have good intentions, you're just gonna make it worse. I know some people mean well, but it surely comes off as a backhanded compliment. Using the term pick-me, this word should literally disappear. It's so awful and K-pop stans use it in the wrong way. They see a female idol acting cute and they instantly call her pick-me, when pick-me is used to describe a girl who acts like she's not like other girls and she's different, just to be liked by guys and get their attention, which has absolutely nothing to do with the female idols y'all call pick-me just for acting cute. Not to mention y'all love it when male idols act cute, but as soon as a girl does it she's a pick-me. For fuck's sake, female idols have been called pick-me's even for crying, because you said they were faking their tears. But if your oppa cries then he's so precious, like please, make it make sense. Thinking being 20 years old, ageism is more and more present in K-pop, especially because a lot of new K-pop stans are pretty young. I've seen people calling idols old when they are barely 20, let alone idols from 3rd or 2nd gen who are in their 30s. Those are basically considered as grandmas and grandpas. There are a lot of young idols that are debuting right now, and I understand that the more we see such young idols, the more we're gonna perceive older idols as older than they actually are. But this is not an excuse to be straight up ageist and to drag idols for their age. These K-pop stans must literally be 12 years old, because there's no way you could call a 20-year-old an old hag unless you're a literal child. Throwing the term flop around too much, I knew some stans had lost their minds when I heard them calling BTS flops just because Yet to Come didn't chart as high as their previous songs. Like excuse me, but BTS and flop cannot go in the same sentence, and I'm not even a stan, but even I would be embarrassed to call the biggest K-pop group flops just because they didn't chart at #1 on every chart. Groups gain and lose popularity quickly, and yes, some groups can flop, but y'all cannot be serious and call some of the biggest K-pop groups flops like it's nothing. Stanning companies. Stanning many artists from a company is perfectly fine, as long as you don't start stanning the company though. Some of you are so blinded by the love you have for the artists, that you will start defending the company no matter what, even when they're clearly in the wrong. You can love the group while simultaneously call out the company if they do something bad, but some of you don't realize that. Also, company stans are pretty ridiculous when they act as if stanning every artist under the company was a duty. No bestie, you're not obliged to stan everyone just because they're from the same company as your faves. This only leads to a lot of token stanning and it sucks, because at the end of the day, you don't really care about those people and you only token stan them because of the relation they have to your faves. Company stans who stan the companies are genuinely the worst. They are so brainwashed it's crazy. Well guys, these were some things I wish K-pop stans stopped doing in 2023, but knowing K-pop stans I think they'll just end up being awful and annoying throughout the upcoming year. Anyway, let me know if there are some things you think we should be leaving in 2022 and you hope we won't see next year. Tell me what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching till the end. Bye guys.